Hello, friends. So, today I'm going to talk about stakeholders. So, who is a project stakeholder? As you can see, the definition says that any individual, which means people like you and me, entity, it could be an NGO, it could be a social organization, or it could be a government body, or an organization which is impacted by the success or failure of a project. So, it clearly talks about the fact that it could be impacted by either the success or failure of a project in a positive or in a negative way. So I might be negatively also impacted by the project. That is what is going to qualify me as a stakeholder. Now, we all know that project impacts lot of people, right? Lot of entities, lot of organization, and the impact might be very, very high for some entities, or the impact might be very, very low for some of the entities. So not all stakeholders are going to be impacted in an equal way. Also, some stakeholders might get initially impacted by the project. Some of them might get impacted at a later point in time. Broadly classifying, we can classify stakeholders as either a positive stakeholder or negative stakeholders. So positive stakeholders want your project to succeed. Negative stakeholders will make all attempts to derail your project. Then you can have a direct stakeholder, someone who's directly impacted by this project. For example, there's a bridge being constructed in my city, and because of that, the traffic is slowed down till the time the bridge gets completed, or they have erected some disruptions in between, because of which the entire traffic has to be channelized to one single lane. So that is a direct impact which I'm getting. Then there could be an indirect impact. For example, a government is initiating some infrastructure projects, and in order to fund that project, they're taxing me. So that is an indirect way I'm contributing as a stakeholder to that project. I may not be living in that city, but in order to build that project as a citizen of the country, I'm contributing the tax to it. So that is indirect and direct stakeholders what we have. And then we have active stakeholders, someone who's actively involved in the project, maybe the customer, the client, the sponsor, and someone who's passively involved. It could be any support function which is helping you to do the project or execute the project in a successful manner. So that is broadly speaking the definition of a stakeholder what we have. Now, one of the very powerful tools of identifying and knowing your stakeholders is the classic power interest grid. So, what is this power interest grid all about? A power interest grid is a two-dimensional grid which shows where exactly your stakeholders are positioned across these four quadrants. So, on the x-axis of this tool, we have what is the interest of the stakeholder in your project. So, when I'm a project manager, when I'm going to use this tool, I have to clearly identify what interest does the stakeholder have in my project. Is it low interest? Is it high interest? So on the x-axis, we have a dimension from low to high. On y-axis, we have the power quadrant or the power equation. Again, power can vary from low power to high power. And this is a very interesting tool because when you identify stakeholders, it is not just about identifying their names. It is also trying to classify them in each of these quadrants, trying to understand what are their motivations from this project. And as a leader, as a project manager, how do I effectively engage these stakeholders? So let us take a quick example. Let us go to the first quadrant, which is low power, low interest. And let us say that I'm doing this exercise for one of my project. I identified two stakeholders, Reena and Amit. And when I closely look at these stakeholders, I find that they are best suited for a quadrant one, which is low power, low interest. Any guesses what kind of a role these two stakeholders would be performing in my project? Just think over it. They have low power, which means they don't have much of the influence in the project. At the same time, they have very, very low interest in what's happening in the project. But nevertheless, as a project manager, I have to look after them. I have to closely, in fact, monitor them. That is low power, low interest, what we have. So, a typical role, what will come out in this for Reena and Amit would be more of a junior employee. So, they would be playing the role of a junior developer or a junior employee in this part of the quadrant what is there. All right, moving ahead, let us go to the next quadrant, which is high interest but low power. So this is a very interesting quadrant because the stakeholder has got high interest. He or she is definitely interested in what is happening in your project. but as such, the power which they wield is very, very minimal. And here we have Raj and Radhika, whom we have identified in our project. So again, any guesses who would be Raj and Radhika in our project? Maybe a technical lead, a technical expert who's more focused on the work, who's more interested in bringing out innovation. But as such, he or she may not have influence to, I would say, negotiate with the customer per se. That influence is still lying with you as a project manager, but they definitely can take some good technical decisions or innovations around a project. Okay, let us move to the third and the critical quadrant, which as a project manager, I'll be spending most of my time. I would call it as the third quadrant, sorry, the high power, high interest quadrant. And such stakeholders, you have to manage them very closely. So we have David and Eliza in this. So who again could be falling in this from a role perspective? Who's David in the project organization? Who's Eliza in the project organization? These could be sponsors, these could be clients, these could be the funding agencies which are there, or the heads of funding agencies who are going to release money for the project. And as a project manager, I have to very closely work with them. In fact, I would be almost spending daily 25 to 30 minutes with them minimum, I would say. So we'll definitely have a daily connect with these people because they are high power, high influential, and high interest what they have. Lastly, we come to the fourth quadrant, which is high power but low interest. Interesting quadrant, right? I mean, the power of the stakeholder is very high, but the interest which the stakeholder has in your project is very, very minimal. And here we have Jyoti and Gina, who I have identified from my project perspective. Again, any guesses who could be Jyoti and Gina? Well, these could be the CEOs of the organization where I am working. These could be my organization. Let's say it's a project based organization. Gina and Jyoti could be the CEOs or the senior executives in this organization. I have to keep them satisfied. Now, when I'm saying that they have low interest in the project, doesn't mean that they really have a low interest. What I am meaning to say is that these are senior executive people. This organization might be having hundreds of 200s of projects running. These executives are not going to come in each and every project status meeting. But let us say I casually meet them in an elevator or I casually meet them in a cafeteria. I should be able to address whatever questions they have about my project. And this is something which I have faced. So I'm sharing from my experience that in one of the this interaction, it was just an elevator pitch which I wanted to give, and then I realized the importance of this stakeholder, high power, but very low interest per se in your project. But definitely, if they happen to meet you, if they happen to catch you in any of the very I would say informal settings like a cafeteria or an elevator, you will have to make sure as a project manager that you satisfy their concerns. So this is a tool which I wanted to let you go through this small video. Also wanted to let you know that all these positions are dynamic, which means today when you start with the project, this might be the position, but maybe 10 months down the line, 1 year, 1.5 years down the line, stakeholders position can go up and down. I hope this short video helped you understand this power interest grid. Do share your feedback and thoughts and ideas on this video. This is Ashutosh Bhatodekar signing off for the moment, and do also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more such videos to help you in your PMP exam preparation. Thank you.